Hey y'all, happy Friday. It's been a little bit of a break. Steph and I are back.
Yeah, and today we have our friend Todd Daly with us from Green Day Power. He is a sales guy for sure, but he does excellent solar. So Robin and I both bought our houses recently and used Todd as well.
Thank you. Yes. I hope I did a good job. Was it not horrible?
It didn't suck.
Okay. Thank you. Hey, I'll take that. I'll take that. Yes, these not as excited about solar ladies here. I'm here to talk to you all about the solar process. But we're just going to talk about two things today because I think it's really important when you're buying a house to know the difference. So we're going to talk about what's the advantages of buying your solar and what's the advantage of leasing or a thing called a PPA, which is a power purchasing agreement. So Stephanie, Robin, you guys both bought your systems, right?
You got
Yes.
You did it. Now, the reason I went with ownership with both these guys is they had a tax appetite. The United States government is still giving you a 26% tax incentive. So depending on your income and how you get paid, a 26% tax incentive is just a perfect way to make the numbers make sense. So that's why I went with both Stephanie and Robin. I looked at their finances. A good salesman will look and ask all these questions. They shouldn't just assume you're going to get the tax credit. That's why it's so important that your salesman actually knows what they're doing and they're not just pitching from some book that they gave you. So ownership is really easy. Ownership is you're going to take out a loan and you're going to pay a payment on the system. So there's no more buying power. You're paying a loan, you're paying a payment on a loan for the equipment. The equipment is producing the power. So it's real straightforward. You have a certain interest rate, you pay a monthly payment, that's it. Real simple. There's a lot of different loans, rates, all that stuff. And there's no point in diving down into this in 5 minutes, but that's the gist of it. Now, a lease is a little bit more complicated. A lease is basically saying, hey, I own the power, I own the system, I'm going to put it on your roof. You're going to pay me per kilowatt for the use of that, but it's going to be cheaper than what you're paying. So for instance, Stephanie, I think your bill was around 180 bucks. So what I would do is like, okay, 180 bucks, you're paying 23 cents a kilowatt. I'm going to come in and say, okay, Stephanie, I got this great deal. All right, I'm going to lock in your payment at 19 cents a kilowatt. And that's going to go up just a little bit each year instead of PG&E, which goes up whatever it feels like. And that's what you're going to pay. So I'm going to build you a system. You're going to pay per watt. Okay, real easy. That's called a lease. A power purchasing agreement is basically a whatever you produce, you pay. So that's the real difference. When I'm looking at when you have a salesman in there talk to you about solar, you need to ask these questions. You need to ask, okay, am I going to pay the same payment every month? Am I going to pay? Is it going to fluctuate? Because some leases and power purchasing agreements fluctuate. So Stephanie, I looked at your deal just the other day. Your system produced, I think it was 28 kilowatts. I think for the month you produced about 8,000 kilowatt, 800 kilowatt hours. Okay. You never look because you never look, but I looked it up. You used 800 kilowatt hours. So what would happen is I'd be like, okay, 800 times 17 cents, and that's what you pay. But then in the winter, when you only produce 200, that's going to be the formula, 200 times 20. But then there's other ones that just say, okay, you're going to buy 8,000 kilowatt hours and you're going to divide it by 12. So you're going to have the same payment every month. So these are little things that you got to understand. It's not the same in every one. That's why a lot of times when like Stephanie or Robin call me, they'll ask me, when we're buying into a lease or a lease or a PPA, they'll be like, oh, it's a lease. Is it a good lease? Well, I have no idea. I need to look at the contract. And I encourage anyone buying a house with a lease to look at the contract. Or like for me, I offer my services anywhere. So like I know Robin and Stephanie, when they have a job and they have a lease attached to it, they'll call me and I'll take a look at the actual contract and tell them exactly what it means so that they can actually better. Because leases are not a bad option. For instance, my grandmother bought solar. She has no tax appetite. So if I would have sold her ownership, she would have lost out on 26% and it wouldn't have made fiscal sense. But instead, I did a lease and she's paying less every month and it doesn't fluctuate and she has the same bill and it's a manageable increase. And so that's why it's important to know the difference. I also think leases are not a bad selling option. Ownership, there's value in it. You build value. It's like putting in new cabinets, right? I mean, when you put in a new kitchen, it brings value to the house, right? I'm not a real
Mhm.
estate agent, right? I mean, most of the time. Yeah, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Nod your head and pretend you're listening to me. Okay. Not everyone knew. Stephanie used to be my boss a long time ago, so she's still pretends she's in charge. So, so that's, that's important. But when with a lease, it's a selling point, not a value point. I could sell solar to a new home buyer so easy. It's so easy. A lot of real estate agents back off about it, but it's so not. I mean, if I went in there and said, hey, you're paying 28 cents a kilowatt, but you have solar. Oh, but I don't own it. Who cares? You're paying 18 cents a kilowatt, which is better, 18 or 28. I mean, it's pretty straightforward on what it is. So, there's a lot of good things and bad things for both. That's why I don't think there's a one size fits all. When I go in to talk to a client, we really dive in. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. You're going to get sick of me. I'm going to ask you, hey, how do you get paid? Do you get paid? Are you like me? I'm a commission only. Are you like my brother who works for the government? There's so many questions. And if the salesman is not asking you these questions, they don't know anything about how the tax credit works. I bought solar. I know how the tax credit works because I got the solar. Stephanie here, she kind of figured it out, but she forgot and she called me because that's what everybody does. Everybody forgets everything I tell them about the tax incentive, and then they call me. Robin, you'll call me next year. You'll be like, hey, Todd, I don't remember anything. And I'll go, okay, here's how it goes. But that's kind of the big stuff. And those are the two main things, solar when it comes to owning and a lease. One, the other big thing about a lease is it's maintained by the leasing company. So remember, if Green Day Power does a lease, the leasing company pays me to install it. That's the extent. So all your calls and concerns normally are going to be through the leasing companies. Now, my clients, whenever there's a problem, they call me because that's just how I do it. That's why I can sell. That's why my customers keep coming back. So I don't know. What other questions do we have? I'm trying to think for leases. Their leases are insured by your actual the leasing company. When you own it, you actually have to tell your homeowner's insurance, hey, I just put on this permitted leasing, because your homeowner's insurance can go up. That's something a lot of salesmen don't bring up. Salesmen do not bring up when things are going to cost you more. That's just how it is. Me, I'm going to tell you straight up. Like mine went up $10 a month. 70, did you see any increases? Robin, did you notice any increases? Did you tell your insurance company that you had solar? You did.
I feel like I did. Yeah. I'll double check though, because I have to call them about something else. So thanks.
Just remember, Stephanie, you need to tell them, or because if your house burns down, then it's not insured. Okay, write that down. Write it down.
Yeah, I'm writing that down. I'll tell my husband.
Yeah, don't tell him. He'll get mad at me. Don't tell him. So that's pretty much lease and solar. Any other questions about those two?
Yeah,
Stephanie?
I think that we had, what is PACE? People ask about that.
Okay, so PACE it's called the Property Assessed Clean Energy. I had to look it up. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't know the acronym off the top of my head. PACE program is a agreement with a PACE company. There's a lot of them. PACE Funding, Y-Greens, CalFirst. There's a bunch of different ones, but think of it's under the whole umbrella of the PACE program. And the PACE program, what they do is they go in and they make a deal with your county. So Sonoma County has one, Sacramento County has them. They have this thing. So when you look at a PACE, I have to go in and see if they have a PACE program in your area. And what it is the county makes a deal with PACE, a PACE organization, and they say, okay, we are going to allow you to, instead of looking at your credit, we're going to look at the value of your house. And if you have value in your house, if there's equity there, we're going to base your loan off of that equity. So what they do is, instead of giving you a loan, they say, okay, you're going to pay back this loan through your taxes, through your property taxes. So you'll get a bill every 6 months. That's why if you ever heard any of the solar companies with that hook, no payments for a year, it's because depending on when you land on your taxes, you don't have to pay for it until you get your tax return. So the important thing to know about that is, do I think it's better than PG&E? Absolutely. There's just a couple other caveats, meaning if there's a lien on your house, it's an actual lien. So if you have to go refinance, you have to pay off that lien. Not in every situation, but in most situations. You can transfer it, but no one ever transfers it. Who's going to take it? I mean, you guys, unless you're selling your house to your son or your daughter or someone, no one's going to take over a debt for you. So you have to assume that when you go to sell your house, all you have to do is say, hey, I'm going to pay this off when I close the escrow. That's what I would say. So if I sold my, if you sell your house, you have to pay it off. The weird thing it can be is when you go to refinance your house, it can be an extra couple of steps. That's why it's important to have a good salesman who will actually walk you through. So I walk my clients through anything that I sell. If there's a problem or an incident, even if it's not part of my job description, I'll find the answer for it. Stephanie, you had something to pop up. What was it? I can't remember. You called me because you couldn't see the deposit. Come on, help me remember here. You called me all freaked out. What was it?
I don't know if I was freaked out, but I believe it had something to do with Sonoma Clean Power Act.
Oh, yeah. But that's a perfect example of, we don't need to get into that. That's a whole nother video. But you were confused on what you were supposed to do. So you called me and I looked into it and I said, you need to do this. So those are the things that I bring to the table more so than most sales. Most salesmen, it's just sell you and then that's the last you hear from them. And that's kind of what I'm trying to change with our company is we want to be your solar person forever. Just like you have, Robin, you always said you always have a contractor, you always have a plumber, you have an electrician. I'm your solar person. So I'm in that line to call, not just your solar salesman. But anyway, so that's, when it comes to PACE, it's just a few more, it's a hook to your taxes. It's for people who have a lot of times people who have bad credit, but pay their mortgage and have a good income, that's an option. So if you have bad credit, I can't give you a lease. You have to have a certain amount of credit. If you have bad credit, you can't do ownership because you have bad credit. So a PACE is, okay, but I've got $200,000 in equity in my house and I have never missed a mortgage payment, then that's an option. A lot of people will lead with it because it's the easiest one for a solar company to get certified with. Anyone can get solar. You can start a company tomorrow and get certified with PACE. It's not, don't quote me on that, but it's not that hard. It's why most small companies have PACE because it's one of the easiest to get qualified for. All the other financial companies that I work with, both the companies that I sold with you guys, they have to see my financial documents. They have to make sure my P&Ls are good. There's a lot of requirements. PACE, it's you breathing. So that's good. But yeah, so that's the difference with PACE. So again, the three things we're looking at, most people finance, they either finance it, write a check, pay me everything. They do a lease or a PPA, or they do PACE program. So those are the majority of how solar gets sold. But yeah, that's, Robin, Stephanie, do you have anything else? You're blank staring at me.
So not blank staring. I think that
staring at me, guys. We gotta. These are videos. We gotta smile a bit. See?
I think that's a great place to start because at least just the general idea of what's the difference between the major options. And I really hope that everybody that's watching this would send us some comments, send us an email. We will totally be happy to send you Todd's info. You can ask him questions specifically, but we plan to have him on again in another week or two. And we'd like to get some more questions to shoot directly at him. I think generators might be a big topic. So
I do think generators are a big topic, and people are very confused on what generators can do, how big of a generator they need. Some people want air conditioning and they want the whole house. Me personally, I'm okay with just running my refrigerator and a refrigerator and a couple of outlets. Well, that's a totally different situation. I'd also like to do one if people are interested on how batteries work and the cost efficiency of them. I think batteries are moving in the direction, but again, it depends on what you want to do with that battery. Batteries are coming around, but again, is a battery better or is a generator better? Where am I going to make the cost efficient on them? But yeah, I'd love to talk about either one of them because that's all I do all day.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you coming on, and we definitely are going to have you back.
Of course.
And I hope we get.
Wait, come on, let's admit, I'm way funner than all the other people you've had on.
You really are.
But I'm not gonna lie to you, the bar was low.
Wow.
Tell people that.
I'm sorry, you're right. I'm sorry, you're right. I only watched a couple of them. Too snotty. Should we re-record?
Yeah.
Should we re-record?
Are we gonna do this again?
No, we're not gonna do it again.
We're rolling with it. Okay, well that's enough. Todd's getting.
All right. Happy Friday.
Yeah, Todd, I could go on for hours. So bye guys, happy Friday.
Bye everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.